Hey, what's up? It's Coach coming at you with the marshmallow test. Now, if I remember correctly, I'm going to get my facts a little jacked up, but it was back in the 1960s, and it is the epitome. It is the groundbreaking study that proved that distraction is more important than just ignorance or ignoring something in order to avoid or get past something. It was a really interesting study. They took a bunch of, I believe it was 4 and 5 year olds, like little kids that, you know, if you've got those kids, you know that they do what they want to do, and they'll keep asking until they get it. Can I have it? Can I have it? Can I have it? And so what they did is they took a room full of 4 and 5 year olds, and they put a bunch of marshmallows in front of them, and then they timed them. How long could they go? They told them, don't eat the marshmallow. Don't eat the marshmallow. And then they left. And the kids were all by themselves. And I don't remember how long it was, but it was very short. They're looking at like the course of maybe a minute or 2 minutes, where before everybody basically like dug in. Then they did it again. They came back and said, okay, this is what's going to happen. Like, don't eat the marshmallow. If you don't eat the marshmallow before we come back in, then you're going to get 2 marshmallows. Well, it helped. It helped a bunch. But still, just overall willpower wasn't enough for the majority. So they lasted a little bit longer, where before maybe they lasted like a minute or two. They lasted an extra minute or so. And then they came back and they did the study again. They said, all right, now what I want you to do is I want you to imagine that this marshmallow is a fluffy cloud. That's 4 and 5 year olds. But I want you to imagine this is a fluffy cloud. And I want you to imagine this cloud, and I want you to imagine you flying through the sky, or the birds that are surrounding. This is a cloud. And then they left. And before, when it was like 2 minutes that they couldn't, or that they wouldn't eat the marshmallow before they gave in, many of them actually came back and held out for like 7 or 8 minutes. Now this is important because willpower is a finite resource. Anybody that's struggled with weight loss or struggled to do this, particularly when you go to like a serious diet and you don't enjoy the diet and you don't enjoy doing this, you understand, like, you know, like at the end of the second day, you're starting to feel nuts. And while it may get a little bit easier because you're finding some habits or some routines that you're building, you know, you still get at the end and you're just, I'm about to go nuts. This is crazy, and I can't do this, because willpower is finite. And there's only a certain amount that you can actually expend before you literally will just give up. This is a perfect example. People who have a really stressful job, they get home. What do? They don't make dinner. That's the last thing on their list. What do? They go home and they'll order a pizza. Or they'll pick up some McDonald's on the way. Why? Because it's a lot easier and your willpower is lower. You know that pizza or that McDonald's is bad for you, right? Everybody listen to this. We know that, right? But we do it because our willpower is dropped. So we control it through the power of distraction. And we control it by trying to find a way that we exert less willpower throughout the day, so that we allocate the finite amount of willpower resource that we have for something else. What do I mean is, well, where can you give up some control? Where do you not actually need to be focusing on? A perfect example might be for a manager. Well, you know what? Give some of that control to someone else underneath you. Say, hey, I want you to start, you know, watching these reports or keeping track of this. And they're going to be appreciative because, you know, that's, hey, you're trusting me with this stuff. And that's going to reserve some of your willpower so that you can, you know, nail it better at lunch, right? Or when it comes to exercise and nutrition, do you really need to be focusing on drinking 10 glasses of water a day, getting your protein up to 150 grams, eating vegetables at every meal, and making sure that you're cutting out dairy, cutting out carbs, doing all these things, right? Like, do you really need to do all of those rules, or where can we just spend some focus on just 2 or 3 rules, right? Like, and that's why I'm a big fan of those guidelines. You come up with 2 or 3 that's going to be achievable, because willpower, even though it's finite, it is a skill that you can actually build up. You can develop more willpower. And basically, the science behind it is, when you see yourself being able to do something, you go, yeah, you know what, I can do this. I did that yesterday. Or, you know, the last 2 weeks, they've been really hard, and I really need a cheat day, but I did 2 weeks. Like, I've got this. Like, I can do this again. 1 week is no problem. And after I do 1 week, after doing 2 weeks, that's 3 weeks, right? Like, I'm killing this. I'm doing awesome. That's almost a month. And I already know that in order to lose my 15 pounds, I really need to be focusing on this, like, pretty serious for, like, 4 to 6 weeks. So, I can do this. This is doable for me, right? Willpower is a skill you can build. Willpower is a finite resource, and you have to approach it in that sense. What's the likely obstacle you're going to be running into? Coach, I'm working on cutting out my Coke. I just drink way too much Coke, and I'm really getting just like crazy. Like, I'm getting these cravings for it. Okay, good. So what can we do that's going to satisfy these cravings? Because you're not going to be able to ignore those cravings forever. And if you go in accepting like, hey, I'm going to indulge my craving a little bit, you're going to come out of it a much stronger person, both emotionally because you're in control, as well as you're probably going to do a whole lot better when you allow yourself some Coke, as opposed to when you just fly off the handle because you had a stressful day because for whatever reason, whether it's at school, you got a grade you didn't want, or at work, you got reprimanded, or at home, the kids are just going crazy, right? Like, those days, that's when your willpower is just shot, and you grab the 2-liter and you're just like, F it, I'm done. Right? And that's when you don't care. Approach it knowing that that's probably going to happen if you keep exerting willpower. You cannot exert willpower forever. Right? Marshmallow study. Use power of distraction in order to avoid short-term problems and build up some willpower reserves, if you will. It's not really willpower reserves, but help assist your willpower in the short term. I guess is a better way to put it. But long term, understand that those cravings are there for a reason, and you cannot keep from them for too long without going absolutely crazy, because willpower is a finite resource. So go forward knowing that you're going to indulge. That's the purpose of the cheat day, right? We say it's to give you the calories that you need and to throw your body into whack. It absolutely is. But there's a huge emotional and a mental component to it. When you relax, I got this. I can do this. 6 days out of the week, I'm going to nail it. 1 day out of the week, I'm going to approach it very sane, knowing that this is okay. This is Coach with Live Fitness.